And we must feel empathy towards parents begin the terrible journey of their child's addiction and the facing of the uncertainties that comes with the journey. For example, rehab, prison, kicking your child from the family home into the street, and sometimes death. But for some parents, this is a constant daily battle they face, a battle filled with fear and a lot of uncertainties, something one cannot comprehend, unless, of course, one has been through it. Perhaps is this a case of love a parent has for their child, or the difficulty in letting go, or a case of how a parent think things should be and accepting what it is and reality. Perhaps that urge a parent might have to fix or control the situation. But the big question is, when do parents draw the line between love of their child and accepting reality that they can't control everything and let their child face the consequence of their actions? Today we have with us a strong lady that have experienced that pain, stress, worry, sleepless nights, use of her wages to pay off drug debts running to thousands of pounds to see her child get help. We of course hide her face today to protect her and her child, but she has come to share her story of her child's addiction that have cost her thousands of pounds and counting, but still stands by her child. Thank you for coming here today. Tell us about your child growing up, happy memories. And
I had a marital breakdown. My children had and have got a very supportive stepfather. They had a very good upbringing, even with step parents. I considered it was a happy childhood for them. Sometimes when I ask my child, he has different views of it, but sometimes again with his mental health problems, they've got confused sometimes. But overall, I think it was a happy upbringing. That's sometimes where I said I blame myself. I feel a bit guilty because I sometimes wonder if I miss things. If maybe I was too wrapped up in a different relationship and miss things. So that when I say about blaming myself, that's how I feel. Maybe I miss things that I should have looked out for. But I think I consider that it was we've got a supportive family all round. So
isn't that back to say that you can never get it all right, you can never, guess we're something we're trying to chase this happiness and peace that we will sometimes kind of miss things but then if you had asked me I don't know when I was a kid, is my life perfect? I'll probably tell you no, it wasn't. It wasn't great. But rewind it like 20, 25 years after, and if I look back on what I thought I didn't have, and I'm actually happy with it. Tell us about your child. Tell us.
Well, their addiction has probably been going on for 20 years, on and off. In the early years, I was unaware of it, or probably just naive about it and didn't want to believe it. As time went on, it became apparent that there were underlying mental health conditions as well that probably made an addiction a way of an escape, to escape the mental health problems that they were experiencing. And there was a big event that happened, I don't know, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago that made the whole situation worse. And my child probably became a lot more dependent on me. And that would have been the time, if I was going to do the tough love, I probably should have done it. But you support your child, and you know, you think, oh no, I can fund this. I can pay this bit off, and I can pay that off, and I can make their life easier. But then you do actually end up almost controlling it, and you become. I think I had this conversation with you about being codependent, and it becomes a situation where I want to support my child. I can't not support them now.
Yes.
So you have this codependent relationship,
Yes. Yeah.
and it is very difficult and you become enabler. I've learned so many new words.
Yes. Yes.
Being an enabler, being codependent,
Yeah.
and it becomes a situation where you're almost trapped in the addiction as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Even if you don't, think you are, but you are in it at the same time, because stopping that love is not really an option.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if you do, what will happen from the book, from the book you've read and things like that. What did your child start with? What do you think he started from?
I think, years ago, I think it just, I think there was episodes of bullying, and they experienced bullying and became, I think, involved in the wrong crowd, and where you get almost like, oh yeah, you know, prove yourself, try it.
Yes.
And the problem is, some people have got an addictive. This is my thoughts only.
Yeah.
I feel that people have got addictive personalities.
Yes.
And some people can do drugs, just like people smoke.
Yeah.
You know, they can, but some people can't. Yeah. And I think that's what happened with my child. They started off cannabis, you know, fairly mild, as you would think. But then if you've got that addictive personality, or you've got underlying problems, mental health problems, then that it can lead to other things, and people will exploit vulnerable people.
Yes.
And I think, again, that's what's happened.
And I guess you could say, if that cannabis was what he went to numb his pain, I guess that's where he might have found his comfort.
Yeah, I think sometimes people use drugs to mask pain, to escape. And it's not to get a high; it's to be normal.
I totally agree.
And I feel that's what my child was doing, was taking drugs to feel normal, to fit in,
Yes.
to be accepted, to maybe give them the confidence to be like others.
To be like others, yes. Yeah.
But then you get into the whole cycle of addiction.
When do you think was the first time you actually became, honest to yourself that your child is?
Well, I was more aware of it. I think it was, it was probably in like 2000 and, let me think about this, 2007, 2008, something like that. And a situation happened, and it became apparent that drugs were involved, and money needed to be paid off, and things like that. But then there was a period of time where everything seemed normal, but maybe they were coping with it on their own, and working, and could fund their own.
They become functional.
Yeah. There are people that are high functioning, addicts and all sorts,
Yeah.
So, but then I think a mental health situation, a mental health breakdown, was the straw that broke the camel's back, and from then, that was in I think about 2016-ish. that's when it just became
Okay.
a major.
And at this time, now you've seen it. I mean, what were your thoughts at this?
My I always blame myself. Always blame myself. And no matter how much people tell you, it's not your fault, it's not anything. You show me a mother that doesn't blame herself for the things that her.
But wouldn't you accept that you you love your child,
Yeah,
you want the best for your child,
yeah,
you do everything you can to make sure your child is okay.
yeah,
Wouldn't you accept that that blame shouldn't be on you, because there has to be a point where
yeah,
your child now has to make choices,
yeah,
decisions.
yeah,
I always say, from the moment a child lies, that is when they understand
yeah.
what's right or wrong. I mean, surely you should say, well, these are his choices. I've done my best, and
I mean, I do as well. I know exactly that, and I know I shouldn't blame myself, but it's really hard not to, because you do think, what did I do wrong? You know, their sibling hasn't got problems,
Yeah.
so where and I don't know. I do have this. I have a guilt thing, but I know I shouldn't blame myself, and I just do all I can to. I suppose it's to make life easier for them, and maybe
Yeah.
again I shouldn't do that, but if that's how I feel I should be, it's really hard to change and not be. It's really hard, you know. Again, I couldn't see my child homeless, even though, you know, in some cases it's really work for people when
Yeah.
they do the tough love, but
I always have this story I tell people, who are so poor, very poor, and normally when I was in school in Africa, I would go and stand by the canteen, and if someone throws something on the floor, I would pick it up and eat it. Now, my mom couldn't walk because she had a crash that broke her leg, but she still did her best to go to work. One day I didn't have any luck picking up anything on the floor. One of the girls in the class was rich, so she had money, 200 naira, so maybe 20p. And I remember the headmistress ringing my mom and saying, well, we've caught him, he stole money. And, what do we do? The headmistress say, well, I can cover it up so no one knows about it. And my mom says, no, you're going to put a sign on his around his neck that says I'm a thief. And you're going to take him around the classes and you're going to whip him every time. Now, I remember going home to my mother, and my mother says to me, she only made a word to me. She said, well, haven't I done enough? And that stuck in my head. And since then, the idea of stealing has never come into my head. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if my mom decided, yes, please cover it up. I don't want the shame and things like that. And people might look at that and say, oh, that's horrible. But I will always love my mother for that, because I know, certain situation change, and maybe I would have gone back home and hated my mom because I had to walk around about 60 classes, and each class you're getting whipped and said, oh, yeah. But I think maybe tough love does work, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I mean, we'll never know. But I guess, like I say to you, regardless of whatever steps you have taken, I was thinking to myself, I'd never want my mom, I mean, she's late now, but if she was alive, I would have said the same thing. I never want her to give up on me, no matter tough love or trying to. Because, again, sometimes we do need to see that love, don't we? And that's what you did.
Yeah.
I also think at the same time, as difficult you say it is, I also think that you also have to accept that, of course, that you did your best as a mom, and certain things you will not have influence over. Because you raise your child, you send your child into the world, your child then meets friends. But that's where you've raised them at home. I mean, never gonna get it perfect. There's nothing like perfect home or perfect parenting. It's a trial and error.
They don't come with rule books.
No, they don't come with rule books. Exactly. So it's a trial and error and things like that. Now, I guess my next question is, when you kind of realize, okay, this is what my child is up to. A is wrong, you know. Why didn't you go to the law? Why didn't you choose going to the law the hard way?
What do you mean?
You know, saying, hey, okay, you shouldn't be doing cannabis, it's against the law.
Well, I suppose I wouldn't want to see my child arrested or in prison. I mean, you know, luckily they haven't been.
That's good.
So I would rather see dealers
Yeah.
in jail, because they, to me, don't seem to have any soul, any.
Yeah.
And I wonder what their mothers think of them, if they even know.
I guess this last gentleman we interviewed, he said the dealer is not your friend, and it's true. They're not your friend. I always say expecting them to have that set of conscience is like expecting to draw blood out of a rock. Well, you are. I guess we talk about county lines and a lot of what's going on and things like that. But I guess wouldn't you say, like, perhaps that your child also would have had a decision, to make in terms of, I mean, if there's no people that rely on drugs, and of course there will also be, there wouldn't be a lot of dealers, because they need this you don't need people to rely on what they sell,
source of income,
so they can get that income coming in and things like that. And I totally agree with you. I think it's fair to say that we deal with people that have no soul and things like that. But when you made that decision not to go to the law because of this, were you, up to today, are you still content with that decision?
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that anyway.
Yeah.
I would not have done that.
And that's a way of you protecting your child.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting. Like you were talking about your mum, and like I'm saying my child, because I always remember my mum saying to me, even when she was quite old, and I used to say, I'm not a child. She's always a child to me, and that's how I see it. I think.
That's good. So would you say that your child had a choice to make each time he went to these dealers? Would you look at it like that, or?
Yeah, well. So yes, they have a choice. However, dealers are manipulative individuals, and who will prey on vulnerable people. And, it'll be like they'll tick them, they'll, I didn't even know I knew the word tick until I got into this.
I haven't heard that word for.
Oh, my goodness, it's ridiculous.
At least 12 years I haven't heard that word.
So they tick them, and then they, and the thing is as well, when somebody has done drugs, they're not going to keep a little notebook. Oh, I did how many grams or whatever it is, and so they get exploited, and that's what makes me angry as well, because, you know, and they say because they've got no record, no receipt, no anything, they're just going to keep on exploiting them.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if conscience ever kicks in. The only failure is money, isn't it? They need to keep making that money.
Yeah.
So I don't know if conscience. I mean, some people, you know, realize it's that, you know, it becomes, you know, it's such a. I mean, of course, we always say that, you know, you take away a dealer, someone bigger with a whole different comes in.
Yeah.
But what we really should be doing is educating, you know, maybe doing more to educate individuals about, you know, this whole concept of, obviously, of course, addiction things like that. I think, you know, more should be done. I think in schools and you know, in schools and, you know, to educate individuals. Of course, like you said, we can't, as parents, can't keep a blind eye.
I think, I mean, I know other people, I do know other mothers that children have got addiction problems, and they've, sometimes they've had it far worse than I have. So, and so they've chosen different ways of dealing with it. And maybe because I don't have that rebellion or my child's never stolen from me. My child's never. Some of the things that I've heard, you know, they've not done them.
Yeah.
So maybe, being not rebellious has made it easier for me to help.
Yeah.
Or make matters worse, depending which way you look at it.
Yeah. So we spoke about using some of your wages to pay off, you know, the steps. I mean, do you have a rough figure how much we're talking?
I wouldn't like to say over the whole period, but I would say like in excess of £10,000 within a, I don't know, 18 months period.
I mean, that's
But that, sorry, interrupting you.
Yes.
That I wouldn't say that's been through the whole of this duration.
Yeah.
I think that we've had a period where it's been particularly, with mental health problems, it's been particularly bad.
Yeah.
So I've probably had paid more out in the recent few years than over the whole thing. I wouldn't like to say what I've spent over the whole thing, but
that's
in the last couple of years.
Didn't you kind of think, like, at some point, like, you know, perhaps, you know, they need to experience the natural consequence of their action in order to get better? I mean, wouldn't have that been easy way out? And, well, you know, you made this, you know, you made these choices, and I've done everything I can. If, you know, 5 years into it, 10 years into it, done everything. You know, going. I mean, why don't you do that? Why don't you?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. I just can't do it. I can't give you a reason, except to me it's unconditional love. It's what I would do for my child. I'm sure it's what my mother would have done for me. I just don't see any. That's it. This is my job.
Yeah.
It's my job, and that's it.
No, can't get any better answer than that. Now, looking at your story and what you've been through to help your child, you know, through recovery, you know, debts that have cost you sometimes your wages, that have, of course, if you say run to thousands of pounds, the stress, the heartbreak. And there are people that watch this video and relate to your pain and struggle because, here we have a loving mother who didn't and hasn't given up on, her child and trying to protect him. But on the hand, there are people that watch this video and think to themselves, weren't you enabling your child by the decisions, you made?
When I take a step back sometimes, I think, am I just an enabler? But I know as a mother, I couldn't leave my child and let my child, I couldn't throw my child out. I couldn't not support my child. I remember reading a book. It was called Mum, Can You Lend Me 20 Quid? I don't know if you've ever seen it or read it. Mm-hmm. And it's about a mother of twin boys that had a drug addiction. And she did tough love, they call it. And one of the twins died and the other one became clean. And that sort of stuck in my head because, I've always had that fear. If I do tough love, what will happen?
Mm. Would you say that the drugs and the addiction have kind of added to that mental health?
Definitely. I mean, you hear all the time about the psychosis that goes with cannabis.
Yes.
So definitely, I can tell when my child's been doing drugs and their mental health is particularly bad. When drugs aren't involved, their mental health is different. I'm not going to say the problems go away, no, but they're different. So it is like this chicken and egg situation, what came first. But then getting mental health problems diagnosed these days, it's an absolute nightmare because the mental health services are so overstretched. Yeah. As soon as you get seen in mental health services, you get discharged. So there's no ongoing support with that. There's not a lot of ongoing support for addictions as well. That if you're in Wiltshire, there's a lot more support, but Swindon's got a different budget, and I don't know if it's changed recently, but it certainly hadn't changed. So there's no real, there's no funding for rehab and things like that.
I guess that makes it easy to obviously relapse if that's the only way.
Yeah, because you've got no support.
Yeah.
And so there are the services that are available, things like NA. That doesn't suit everybody.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So, I know there are services and good services out there, and they're helpful and supportive to some people, but they don't support everybody.
Yeah. And of course, people have their own different stories and different scenarios, and I guess trying to use one method to it doesn't work.
It doesn't work with everybody. Some people it does, and that's great if it does. Yeah. But it doesn't work with everybody. It's not a one size fits all. You can't have that approach because everybody's different.
Yes, I agree. I mean, were there any times where you feel because of your child's decision and feel threatened and scared or worried in your own home? Has there been?
I don't feel like that. I get angry, and I get very angry about it. I'd like 1 minute in a room with a dealer, and they see what a tiger mother was like. I get that angry about it. I don't want anybody to to threaten my child or to anything, because it just makes me very angry.
I mean, you seem like a very strong mother, and obviously that's credit to you. But are you not kind of putting yourself in a position where you think you can fix the problem? Where you think you can fix the problem, why in fact, I mean, it's not something that we can be fixed. So perhaps,
Yeah.
your child he made these choices, let him face, the consequences of his choices.
I understand what you're saying. To me, mothers always want to fix everything. We think we can fix the world. We think we're invincible. And I would do anything to fix it. And I think I just live in hope. That's what I do. I live in hope that one day it will all go away and things will be normal. And that's all I can hang on to, because if I didn't have that hope, I don't know, where I'd be. It has had a massive effect on our family. I'm always a bit reluctant to go away anywhere because I don't know quite what I'm going to come back to. But then, to be fair, that sort of thing is getting better, because
Good.
I think my child is starting to see the errors of their way, if I can put it like that, and take responsibility. And now it is up to me to give that responsibility back. And I do find that hard. I do really struggle with that, because I think I'm frightened of. This is the thing that frightens me. I'm frightened that if I give everything back, and it all goes wrong, I've got to pick it all up again. So I sort of hang on to bits, but slowly I'm trying to give back, and they're taking back responsibility, and hopefully it is a slow process.
Yes.
It's not going to happen in a week.
Yeah. I mean, your approach is I'm a believer, and your approach, no matter what anyone's opinion will be of it, is one I find with my maker, with my God, that I'm not perfect. I will rebel.
Yeah.
I will do wrong, but as long as he has that hand stretched to me with love, I can come back, and because that is it. That love there is important, isn't it? There's we I mean, like I said to you, previously, it's different case when there's this constant rebelling. But from what I've read and from what you've said, this is not really a child that is constantly rebelling.
No.
This is a child that's that has made mistakes, like we all do, that has cost this individual a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, they could be doing something big and better and things like that. And that love you show them, some of us are quick to pick up and pull on our bags, and if life knocks you, you pick up our bags. Well, some we need time, don't we? We need time. We need patience.
Yeah.
We need love, and we need understanding. Like I said, no matter of people's opinion, that's how I look at what you're doing. And it goes to show the approach I always say we need to have as human beings of empathy to individuals. One thing I always dislike is when they use the word crackheads,
Oh,
or
yeah.
when
Junkie and
junkies.
yeah,
But that's a human being.
yeah,
How can you even? And I always say, how can you even have any sympathy towards that individual if you've already passed that judgment on them
yeah,
that they're not worthy of any love or any empathy and things like that? And that's the problem in a society, isn't it?
absolutely.
And that's what makes it difficult, you know. And then you're trying to do your best. Not just that, you're trying to control the situation, but at the same time, you also have to worry about what individuals out there will think.
Yeah,
And, you know, you've done what you've done. You've approached the situation how you thought, you know, you should approach the situation. That hope keeps you. Hope is very important. That hope keeps us going. I think if there's no hope in the world, I think we won't be here. The same hope you have
Yeah.
is the same hope that this world thrives on, I believe. Would you say there was any regrets? Would you say when you look at the whole situation,
um,
there's something you wish you did differently?
I think in the early days, I think I would probably I would be the one that I wouldn't I was ashamed to say that I had a child that was an addict. I'm not now, because I know people view it differently. Everybody's got their own thoughts on it. I view it as an illness. They've got an illness. So if they had a broken leg, you know, people would say, oh, you know, but if you say, oh, they've got an addiction, oh, you know, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But I'm not ashamed to say it now, because they're fighting a battle every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm proud of my child, because, you know, they're doing what they can to fight this battle, and with mental health problems as well. And people will say, oh yeah, mental health is like an easy card to pull.
Yeah.
They want to witness it. They want to walk a day in my shoes. And even in my child's shoes, and see what it's like.
I had to ask a question because we mentioned a lot of unconditional love,
Yeah.
and obviously I wanted to know whether your child not rebelling, like you say, there's a lot of situation where the children have rebelled and it's made the matter, you know, and has obviously helped you in keeping that hope alive.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely. Yeah.
because this is not a case of a child that, you know, rebels and doesn't care. I mean, when I first came to England, there was this. I was in college in London, and you know, my English wasn't good. I wasn't speaking. I mean, this is better now. It's 20 years better now. And this kid actually started bullying me. And I kind of get where you're coming from, because that bullying and the school not doing anything about it led me to being suspended, even though it wasn't my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me so depressed badly that I then had to go to the doctors and obviously went on to medication and things like that, until I decided, you know what, I'm just going to ride this on my own, tell the doctor I don't want no medication and things like that. But at that point in my life, I was 17, I could actually see myself relying on that medication and just leading to other things.
Yeah.
And even going to harder things, because I want to numb this pain I felt in a new country, no family, no friends, and the first place you think you go to, and you're being bullied. So I kind of understand people. Of course, if people haven't been through it, then they won't.
No, they don't understand.
They won't understand
No.
it.
Or they say they might, but they won't.
No. Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, when you walk my path and see what I've seen and been through what I've been through, when you come out, then we can obviously kind of, then if you tell me you understand it now, Well, it's difficult to say, of course, there are people that will look at it different and say, well, you spend so many thousands, and you know, I would have kicked my child out, and told him, I would have kicked my child out and told him not to come back and things like that, But isn't it true that it's different when you're faced with a problem? I mean, isn't it
Yeah, absolutely.
true that you don't? It's like, what do you do? You plan a bank I don't know. Let's not tell anyone to rob a bank, but you plan a bank robbery. You don't think
Yeah.
you're gonna be caught, and then all of a sudden there's
Yeah.
a light shining on you and think, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I think again that's why we kind of do this. We're doing these videos too. I mean, like I said to you, I'm hoping that one day your child will be able to tell their story and things like that. But of course, having you share that story from a mother's point of view and how you've dealt with this issue, of course, it's good because there's millions of mothers out there like you that are in the same situation. I mean, what do you want to say to people, like to mothers like you in this?
I think, again, mothers are all different. If a mother like me, how I was brought up with unconditional love, if you've got unconditional love for your child, I don't think you can ever not support them, not do what you can to help them, but you, like you say, even it doesn't come with a rule book. So I know I'm getting things wrong, but I'll just do what I can because it's unconditional love. That's how I see it. They didn't ask to be brought into this world, and I will do all I can for,
For your child.
my children. It's not, I have a child that's an addict, but I have another child, and they're, to me they're no different. I would do everything I can to make their life happy.
Yeah. Do you worry that your child sometimes, lie to you? I mean,
Sometimes.
do you? I mean, do you ask that question? Have you done anything? And then you get the answer. You're like,
I'm laughing because I know my child very well, and I know when they're lying, and they're very good at lying. They're really good at lying. They're the best liars in the world. All addicts are best liars in the world, and the best actors as well. But yeah, I mean, I know, but I suppose the one thing is, and our dynamics in our relationship as mother and child has changed. It's not like a lot of people's relationships because of the nature of addiction and things like that. So I do know when I'm being lied to.
Okay.
And although my child might not admit it straight away, I can guarantee within a short period of time they've actually come back to me and said, I was lying. So although, lies is part and parcel of it, really.
I guess in a way, again, it's good because you're not denying, you're not saying that, oh, my child is perfect, never lie to me.
God, no.
And, you're accepting that, my child will lie to me, but I am going to. And I guess that makes you that makes you alert, very alert too. You're not trying to deal with this blindsided, are you?
No.
You're trying to deal with this knowing fully well that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said about what I would say to mothers and things, and I would say just don't be naive about it. Don't, there's always. Every mother wants to think their child is perfect. Every mother wants to think they've done the best thing in the world to bring them up, and fathers as well, obviously. Partners, whatever. But it's no good being naive about it, because you're just fooling yourself.
Yes,
If you can't accept what your child is doing and confront them, then you're just fooling yourself, to me.
And I think that's the problem we have nowadays, is that a lot of parents want to keep a blind eye to the problem because they think it will go away.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go away, because it just gets... But what you're doing is actually you're confronting it head, and even if it's taking you so long, and hopefully there is that light coming.
Yeah.
And your child can have their life back, and
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hoping.
and be happy with their life and things like that. And I believe it's possible. I believe it's possible. I've met individuals that have been at it for 20 years, 25 years. That's a long time. But I guess, it's like 25 years, that's a long time. But I guess to these individuals, sometimes they don't know what's going on.
No.
They're just passing by time, and
Time goes so quickly as well.
it really does, yeah. A case of a child trying to find back what they've lost,
Yeah.
and it's just taking them a bit longer.
Yeah. It's like you might not like your child, but you'll always love them, and that's the thing. But if luckily I feel I've not been to the point where I suddenly don't like that. I don't love my child. I don't know whether people do that. I don't know, but I might not always like them, but I would not love them.
Well, we're grateful that you've come here to share your story. I think if there's anything to be taken out of this, will be that how unconditional love is very important. I've been privileged to, of course, meet your child, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm glad it is in progress they're making, and I really believe, I can't. Of course, other people will be entitled to their opinion about certain situation, but of course, unless they have been through, they go through it, they will never understand. But what you have shown, take out of here, as a parent, is that keeping that love there, no matter what, and and things like that. So of course, there's a lot to learn from you again, from this interview, and just grateful to have you here and talk about experience. Is there any last thing you want to say?
Only that I really do hope at some point I can come back here and say to you, yay, it's all gone away. You never know.
No. And I truly, like I said, it takes time. It takes time, especially when because you're fighting different battles, aren't you? You're trying to fight different battles, but I truly believe you're gonna message me one day and say, yeah, it's great. But again, this video is about trying to raise awareness of why it's important as a society, to maybe be less judgmental and show more empathy and love to the individuals that are going through this, because there's a story behind all of them. There's a story behind all of them. I speak to a lot of them, and when I do haircut, you tell them, how did you get here? And there's the story. And in my head, I'm always thinking, what would I do? What will I do? I still don't know. There's a lot of stories I've heard. I still don't know what I would do if I was in that situation. But it's fair to say that addiction is not. It's not a failure of moral compass. It's people go through addiction to deal with the pain. It's as simple as that. It's
Yeah.
not. And we spoke a lot about is also understanding that sometimes the only choice a lot of addicts have is that fix that takes them away from that pain, you know. And of course, this is not to say that there's no choices to be made. Of course, there's choices to be made. But, you know, what do you do if you're in a crash and your car is going down the ditch? You know, who knows? Who knows? We never know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, no one ever gets to know because you don't want to be in that situation and things like that. But, you know, what you're doing is brave. You know, what you've done is brave. And like I always say, if my mom was alive, I would not want her to give up on me. So thank you for coming on here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.